Hello, welcome to another video from EarnPed.com. I'm Stevie B, happy to have you all with me today. Let's take some big sips to get this started. So, as you guys can see, I'm not actually in game today. Today we are on a website called SyreneSecrets.com. This used to be the main go-to website for everything related to Planet Cyrene. It is still a great resource. Personally, I feel it's a little bit outdated. There is another website called SyreneDream.org that I also use for a lot of my research, but Cyrene Secrets still has a lot of really good stuff in it. So, as you guys know, I am currently headed to Cyrene, and before I get there and start shooting videos planet-side, I wanted to take a minute to talk to you guys a little bit about the planet-specific lore on Planet Cyrene, and to give you guys a little bit of information about the theme of Cyrene that you guys will need. So, similar to what we've done with Next Island and Arcadia and Tulun, forget about the rest of Entropia Universe. Forget about Planet Calypso, forget about all the other planets. When we talk about lore specific to Planet Cyrene, we are talking only about Planet Cyrene. We're not talking about any other planet, any other thing in Entropia, only Cyrene. So the first thing that I want to go over is the Planet Cyrene factions. So as you can see on the screen, we've got three factions. The Arc faction, which has to do with the Arc faction badges, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then we've got the Turrelion and the Imperium. And the reason I want to go over these with you today is because you're going to hear these words a lot when we're talking about Cyrene. You're going to hear the word Imperium. It's in a lot of item names, in a lot of missions, so is Turrelion. And Arc faction is in a lot of names on Cyrene as well. So having a fairly basic understanding of how this all kind of works is going to be very important to understanding Cyrene and not thinking that they just threw a whole bunch of random words in different places that's all jumbled and confusing. Just having a basic understanding of the lore helps you understand the game so much better. So first, let's start over here with Arc. What is Arc? It's the Acaia Rebirth Corps. I always get that wrong. They are Acaia Rebirth Corps. And this is essentially supposed to be, quote-unquote, the humans that are fighting for Cyrene. Now, we always just call it Arc. We're never actually going to refer to it as the Acaia Rebirth Corps ever again. But we call it Arc, and it's important because there's something called Arc faction badges, and these badges are incredibly important to Planet Cyrene, especially if you're going to be doing armor upgrades, armor plate upgrades, the new pet mission. There's all kinds of stuff in Cyrene that these Arc faction badges are very important for. In fact, we're going to have several videos dedicated to the Arc faction badges. So what the big takeaway you need today is just to know that when we're talking about Arc or Arc faction, what we're really talking about as far as the lore goes is the quote-unquote humans fighting for Cyrene. Then we're going to hop over here to the Imperium. Now the Imperium are essentially quote-unquote aliens who are at war with the Arc guys. So there's this Arc Imperium war going on. Arc being the human quote-unquote good guys, Imperium being the alien quote-unquote bad guys, right? So then we also have Turrelion. Well, what are the Turrelion? Believe it or not, they're just kind of there. They're more or less mercenaries. They will more or less do whatever the highest bidder says, and their loyalty really just lies to whoever has the most money. Now, unfortunately, that is about all there is to it. The lore of Cyrene, from what I can tell, has just never been really flushed out any further than that. We've got the Arc, which is the humans, the Imperium, the aliens, they're at war, and the Turrelion are just kind of the mercenaries for hire and don't really have loyalty to either side. And that's pretty much all of the lore for Planet Cyrene. Now, there might be more official lore somewhere out there. I don't know that for a fact. But from what I can gather, that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. Now, as you guys know, I'm not big into lore, but I have found that having this very basic understanding of lore helps you understand the game so much better. It helps you understand the missions and the interactions and why certain rewards are certain ways and certain items so much better. So that's what I want you to really take away is Turrelion or the mercenaries, Imperium or the alien bad guys, and Ark are the human good guys, and there's this Ark Imperium war going on. Now, that being said, there's one more thing that I do want to cover in today's video. This is going to be a rather short video, comparatively speaking, and that is that Cyrene actually has a general theme to the planet. So, the general theme to Planet Cyrene, believe it or not, is actually kind of Mind Force. Now, they don't come out and say it anywhere. They're not going to come out and say we're all about Mind Force. And because of the fact that you can't really craft Mind Force items in-game, and as far as I know, there's no Mind Force item given away in-game. Like, we get starter weapons all the time that are pistols and rifles, but there's no, like, starter-free Mind Force gear, right? But it has this really Mind Forcey type feel to Cyrene. Not only a lot of the missions and a lot of the stuff you can do on the planet, but also a lot of the naming. So you will see the word Zin come up over and over and over in titles for NPCs. It'll be like Zin Schlagoth or something like that. And it's got this very yin and yang, Zin, find your center, mind over matter feel to it. And that kind of makes sense whenever you start looking at the missions and the stuff that you do on Cyrene and how you progress through stuff. It really does make sense. And there's one mission in particular that really made this fact kind of jump out to me. And whenever we get to that mission, I will show you guys that mission step by step and explain why it made it jump out to me. And then I will also show you guys in a separate mission the NPC name that made it jump out to me, that a lot of NPCs have this Zen theme going on with their name because it's a hilarious NPC name. So knowing that, that can give us some guidance on what we might want to do on the planet. And then there's one other thing that is very, very important, and I've actually debated keeping this secret for myself, but that is when you really get into Cyrene and you really start looking at the missions and the things that you can do and the rewards and stuff like that, what you find is this is a free-to-play players paradise. What I mean by that is there is a astronomical amount of sweat that is needed if you're really going to get the most out of Planet Cyrene. If you are going to do certain missions and get certain rewards and shoot for certain goals, you are going to need an astronomical amount of sweat. More sweat than one person can possibly gather on their own. I mean, I guess you could sweat 24 hours a day for months on end, but some of these missions reset every 24 hours. So it would be virtually impossible. And even some of the missions I look at them, I'm like, why did they even bother with a 24-hour reset? Because just to do what I have to do, forget the sweat part, there's no way I can do that in 24 hours. It's literally mathematically impossible. But there's an astronomical amount of sweat that's needed on Cyrene. So this is a new player's paradise. It's a free-to-play player's paradise because essentially you can get all the sweat you want on Cali, bring it to Cyrene, and there's probably a pretty decent spread. Now, I'm not sure what the going price per sweat is on Cyrene at the moment, but you need a lot of it. There's very, very few uses for it on Cali. Very few. A couple of crafting uses, but that's about it. But on Cyrene, boy, are there uses out the wazoo. And I mean, when I say you need a lot of sweat, like off the top of my head, 200,000 would be a pretty good starting point. Now, keep in mind that you can be a level 9 bajillion sweat gatherer, and you're not going to gather substantially more sweat per hour. The only way you're going to be able to get more sweat per hour is if you have reload speed through buffs like rings and high defense skills so you don't die as often. And if you're in like sweat circles so that you can go with bigger mobs with bigger HP because there's one sweat per HP in the mob. So it is a sweater's paradise. It is a low depot or free-to-play player's paradise. And on top of that, if you're wanting some really good gear that you can get that's going to last you a long time, that you can bang out some pretty easy mission chains to get some pretty useful items that are really going to help you progress through the game, Cyrene is the place to be. So I will put it this way. My goals right now are to unlock Intuition, to get my biotropic level through the roof so that I can use limited restoration ships at a very high level, and to work on at least starting the process of getting to where I can eventually get a couple of really good in-game gear pieces put together. I can do all of those things and more on Planet Cyrene. And there is a lot of the stuff that you can do on Planet Cyrene that you can do on a very, very, very limited budget. I would say arguably that there are players out there who are free to play that could sweat on Kali, and if you were smart about how you sold your sweat on Cyrene and how you did it, you could probably fund a good portion of your Cyrene gameplay. I also want to get my animal looter, my mutant looter, my robot looter to level 100. Cyrene is going to play a big, big, big part in doing that. So most of the goals that I currently have in game can be met on Planet Cyrene, mainly because of this focus on the Zen and Mind Force and finding your center and mind over matter, and because of all the different missions that they have and the way sweat plays a big part in that. So you guys will see all of that as we go through these videos. So I want you to take away those 5 big pieces of information. A, Ark is the human faction. B, Imperium is the alien faction, and Ark and Imperium are at war. C, Turrelion are the mercenaries, and that's about as far as the lore goes. But also that, number 4, Cyrene has this Zen, mind over matter, mind force thing going on, and that it is a great place if you are somebody who is free to play in low depot, especially if you do a lot of sweating on Kali, because even though you might not be able to move sweat very easily on Kali, I promise you there are plenty of amazing uses for it on Cyrene. So guys, I'm going to leave it there for today. Sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Head over to earnped.com, because when you earn, we earn. By far the best way you guys can help support us. Simply use the links on earnped.com to go to hideout.tv. Hideout will automatically add us as a redemption option for your Hideout points. Guys, as the banner at the bottom of the screen says, please hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That will help keep you up to date on all the latest info that we put out, all of our latest content that we put out, and we'll keep you up to date on the game as well. And then please hit that like button on every single video to help us combat the haters and the trolls that are out there. But guys, more importantly, when you do all 3 of those things, you put us on the right side of the YouTube algorithm. And what that means is YouTube finds people that are into PC games, real cash economy games, and MMOs, and starts putting our videos in front of them. And a lot of times it's the first time they've ever heard of Entropia Universe, but they click on the video, they start watching the channel, they learn all about Entropia. Next thing you know, they're downloading the game, starting their journey at Camp Icarus, the North Swamp Camp, and then out into the universe. And we're getting messages every single week from people saying, hey, I am only here because I was on YouTube and your video popped up. Now this game is my hobby. Now it's my passion. Now I've gone out into the universe and I'm part of the community. I'm part of the economy. Would you please tell your subscribers thank you. Please tell your subscribers the huge impact that they're having, and that these videos are being put in front of people like me because they hit those buttons for you. So guys, I want to pass that message along to you guys. That way y'all know the kind of impact you're having on not only the game, the community, the economy, but on other people that are out there. People who are finding Entropia for the first time because you support us by clicking those buttons, and now it's becoming their hobby and their passion. So thank you. Please keep it up. Till next time, sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Take care, Stevies.